Hi, plant people, and welcome to the second season of the Plants by Wade Lee podcast. I'm your host, Wade Lee. Do you feel emotionally connected to your plants, as if in the process of caring for them, they as well are caring for you? We will have in-depth conversations with plant experts, authors, entrepreneurs, and plant personalities. Join me as we dig deep and experience the magic of plants. Hi, plant people. Welcome to the second season of the Plants by Wade Lee podcast. I am honored to be with Garden_Marcus. He is an author who has a new book out that just came out this week. So super excited to talk to him about seasons of growth. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just get started right away and tell me how you got started gardening.
Well, gardening particularly, I got started when I bought my first house, and my plant mom gifted me some plants as a housewarming gift. And I got those plants to my house, and I put them all over the house. I shut the blinds, I shut the windows, and I went to work. And unfortunately, those plants started to die really quickly over the course of the next few months. And I did my best to try to keep them alive. And the next thing I knew, I found myself indoor gardening.
That's amazing. So inside is really where it happens. But now a lot of what you do too is food gardening and growing things to eat.
Yeah, so, I started on the inside and then eventually found myself outside. But where I grow food and I grow fruit trees and things that I can eat, I also am very conscious about how those things have been affecting me on other planes. So I have dabbled into fruit and vegetable and different herbs in many different capacities and learned a lot along the way. Right now, I am focused far more on the fruit and the herbs than I am on the vegetables.
And how do you use these herbs in your daily practice that you grow in your garden?
Oh, I use them in all sorts of ways. The most consistent way I think I use them is for sensory experience, going out and actually engaging with the different types of leaves. And then what that does for smell is incredible. I mean, first off, it's one thing to touch something and have that engage in a texture and in a feeling. It's a whole nother thing to, upon doing so, have that release smell that really affects your memory, affects your taste, affects your thought process. It actually brings you to the moment, very present.
Yeah, my plant journey really started just being a collector and then very fast realizing that this was really my self-care and began to be a ritual of self-awareness and opened up so many metaphors of plants and our daily lives of how we live, just like when there's rotting pieces of a plant and you just cut it off and then new growth can start. And I've been someone who follows your Instagram and your story, it's much more than just a hobby planting for you, that it really is part of your spiritual journey, correct?
A huge portion of my first book, How to Grow, is about the fact that when you're engaged in a practice that's helping you maintain your peace, which I link to calmness in the mind in the face of adversity, and your balance, which I link to the body, maintaining your breathing, which is the ability to govern oneself and one's exchange with the universe. If you can have peace and balance in whatever you're doing, and it's actually helping you engage with your community, fostering harmony, well, then this is a therapeutic practice. And for me, that's gardening. Gardening was very, very good for my peace, balance, and harmony. It helped me come to the moment and be focused, so I'm not being distracted by anything else, and that helped me be able to think through things and maintain my calm. It helped me with my breathing in many ways because I'm practicing being conscious and being present. I'm breathing in all of these really amazing smells, taking in really deep breaths to really appreciate it, the fresh air, all of those things are great for you. And even the bad smells, good for you. That's something we could talk about at another time, but you look that up. It's fascinating how the garden gives you a full range so you have a balance in your body. And then interacting with other creatures and just seeing other life is so therapeutic. So all of those things have made for different layers of meditation and therapy for me in my garden. So 100%, it's been, I'd say 95 to 98% therapy and 2% growing stuff and getting reward from eating it.
Yeah. What is your favorite plant in your collection?
And this is a really tough question because I think that my favorite plant shifts day to day, moment to moment. I'll have 30 favorite plants in a day because at any given moment I'll be looking at a plant and get lost in its flower or on its leaf or just looking at some random part of its roots. And in that moment, that plant has become my favorite. I don't really have a go-to that I go back to regularly, but I do have varieties, right? I have pothos, what above me, right? Philodendron. Yeah. I can just pull them over from anywhere. Got philodendron just growing all willy-nilly. And then I have bromeliads and orchids. Those are my 4 tops. And my bromeliads and my orchids, they thrive outside, so they're not really as indoor friendly as I would like them to be in my area. I have some friends who have great light in their space, and so bromeliads and the orchids do great in their house. Not in mine. I don't have that much light.
I was talking to a gardener in California today named John earlier on a podcast, and he's growing orchids in his home in a grow light. And I'm like, this is insane. I would never be able to keep anything like that alive. Yeah, so it's funny the different avenues that people do to keep these green babies alive. Let's talk a little bit about your book that just came out.
All right.
Seasons of Growth. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about where you came from the first book, How to Grow, into the second book, and what readers will find different. And the
so the first book is 50,000 words, right? The first book is, let's say, a great foundational work for my philosophy, for my thought process. You know, the first book was translated into Korean as, and the title that they gave it was 16 Life Lessons from Plants, Live Like Slow But Hard Plant. And I say that to people because, How to Grow, Nurture Your Garden, Nurture Yourself is all about life lessons, plant lessons that you can keep growing. So it's filled and jam-packed with that. But the second book is more of an introspective journey for you. It's 10,000 words. It's a journal, right? And a journal is very different than a book.
Yeah.
And the journal has guided prompts. It has thought processes to encourage you to think about the seasons. Now, it's focused on the seasons using trees as an inspiration. So where both books talk about mind, body, and spirit, How to Grow goes in depth about peace, balance, and harmony in relationship to mental health, physical fitness, spiritual awareness. Seasons of Growth is focused on thinking about yourself holistically as you go through each season, and it's linking you and paralleling you to a tree, saying, think about yourself like a tree, and the fact that a tree is doing things differently throughout the year to maximize its potential, and so should you. So where one is more of a long, extended thought process filled with lots of stories from my lifetime, that's How to Grow. Seasons of Growth is a guided journal that's really going to end up being filled with stories from your lifetime.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. So it's a prompt book. Yeah, that's so... so needed, especially in this day and age, where we have all of this outside noise around us. And my favorite place to go first thing in the morning is sitting in my garden, and to have a companion book to sit and journal is an amazing thing.
I'm so happy to hear you say that you go out and sit in your garden. By going out and engaging with your garden, engaging with nature in general, regularly throughout the year, you're seeing different things. Mm-hmm. Everything's not blooming all the time, right? Everything doesn't have the same type of leaf all year, right? You have things that come up, things that go down. Things are changing throughout the year. And so you're practicing a type of awareness and observation that is so good for you. And that kind of engagement happens naturally when you're outside, but many of us don't think about it. So now adding in that layer of logging it and starting to really like fine tune it, it opens up so much clarity in a time where we are exhausted and emotions and anxiety seem to be running rampant and running high. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the idea of 9 to 5, many people aren't stopping to look at something that's changing, to see those changes, right? And despite it happening around them, they're so caught here, they're not actually growing to their full potential.
Yeah, it's such an amazing point too, of the mindfulness of, you're right. You just get in your car, you do your commute, you do your 9 to 5, you go back, and there is no change. It's the same in and out. Mm-hmm. And if you just take that moment, I think funny enough, I think it was from a live that I've seen months ago on your live, and it was you were taking herbs and just smelling them, and I started using that as a practice when I go to my garden, like just taking some of that Thai basil, and as I sit out there rubbing it in my fingers and allowing that to just permeate around me and be mindful. And in that moment, it's an amazing, very simple but yet life-changing thing, because it does give you that clarity to just things. I
think that we should start a practice where we just have amazing herbs just hanging on the street, and like random people who are having a hard time, we're like, hey, smell this. Just smell some quality, fresh herbs, because there's nothing like it. There's no way to create what that does for you. In any kind of perfume or fragrance or spray or, scratch on. It's just not the same.
How in depth have you gotten into herbalism? Are you making salves and using, like, doing different teas and all that? Like,
oh man, all kinds of stuff. I linked up with a PhD chemist. Shout out to my man Mark Merriweather, and we created a tea line, and so like I've gotten really into the herbal sphere. I've learned so much, and I've been reminded of so much. I knew so much growing up that I didn't realize was considered herbal sphere, right? I grew up a country boy, and no plant was irrelevant or treated as just a weed or being disrespected. Everything mattered everywhere, right? You used everything. I wish I'd paid more attention to what the old ones were trying to tell me about pointing out this, that, and the other. It just didn't register the same way when you're a kid and you're outside playing and you're just pulling stuff up to throw it. And it stopped being a part of the culture. It stopped being a part of tradition to have everybody walk through the woods and point stuff out and to talk about these things. So a lot of that information got lost. And I feel like there's times where I'm absorbing some of that information now, and I'm like, whoa, I've crossed this before. No way. So I feel like I've taken a deep dive into our planet through herbalism in a strange way. I never anticipated doing that or having that be a part of my reality, but it has definitely become a part of me for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's something really to be said about using the things that you grow with your own hands, and any holy grail products that you use in your gardening. Is there any like of your favorite fertilizer or?
Man, okay, so this ties into what you just said. You know, there's an emotional connection I have to my garden, to each plant, to each leaf, in this cosmic way that it's become. And when it's come to fertilizing, I feel like I've been really connected to something because of compost. And the fact that everything I eat goes, parts of what I don't eat from that same organic material go to my garden to feed things that I will eat, is like some really high level existential experience that I'm engaged with at all times. So my go-to encouragement for fertilizer for everyone in every place is compost, because compost has so much rich goodness that you just can't get anywhere else. And everything else is trying to manufacture in some very specific way the long-term effect of what you get from having it build up incrementally. So for that reason, I've been very hesitant to be like, oh, this is my go-to product for fertilizer,
right,
or my go-to product for soil, because so much of that has been inconsistent. But compost is consistent to you, right? Compost is super inconsistent as well, but it has the potential to be the richest resource. So I tend to encourage people to find local compost or to start composting themselves for a great fertilizing product. As far as like the product sphere goes, right? Because like, you know, like the industry of gardening exists.
And it's vast and wide.
And it's vast. It's vast. I can't say that I have any products that are my go-to. There's been different people that I've partnered with that I've gotten to learn from and had incredible experiences with, you know. So in that list, I think about like my Fisker's tools have still continued to serve me. My Ferry-Moore seeds have produced great fruit for me. My REI gear is made for great things to sit on and to engage with in the yard. You know what I mean? So as I think about like the different things, Balls sent me some plants that I still think about regularly. So there's some like really incredible companies out there who are doing next level work in the sphere of gardening. But I can't say that there's any one thing that I would tell everyone they need to go get right now, because there's just not something that, you know, sits. You know what I mean? If there's something people should go get, it's Seasons of Growth. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And a pen. Grab a pen and Seasons of Growth.
Yeah, right.
Sit
and
out
right
in your
about
garden, pick some herbs, smell those while you're doing it.
Uh-huh.
What about any upcoming projects?
And so many projects. You know, we've got several, many people don't know, and many people think that I spend all my time barefoot just twiddling my shovels and
burning your
whatnot
herbs
in the garden. And burning my herbs in the garden. But, you know, I'm a speaker by trade. That's what I do. I'm a motivational speaker and provide inspiration and high-level thought processes to growth. So I'm fortunate that I have several speaking engagements lined up. As far as like the actual projects go, I'm getting ready to build some healing gardens. And healing gardens are a thing I think we need to be trying to build more of, especially as we are destroying so much nature, where people just used to walk, right, in neighborhoods. There's just so many of those trees going away and becoming shopping centers, and then they say go to a park. And the park doesn't have a lot of trees in it. There's a need for nature, and particularly places that people can go to just encourage peace, balance, and harmony. So
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate some people have caught wind of that and have asked me to come down to South Houston to build some healing gardens. So shout out to Harvest for the Hungry in Texas for wanting us to go and do that. So we're going to start doing that here very shortly, and that's going to be a really powerful thing for the world at large to engage with.
Yeah, I think all gardens should be called healing gardens because they all really are.
Well, I agree, and here's where, there's been a catch there, because many gardens have been turned into produce gardens, and the produce garden has to produce, right? And so there's now been this pressure to grid things, to have things grow at a certain rate, to need fertilizers and things to push this idea of growth, because now I'm growing for the yield, not for the experience. And that is not necessarily been helpful to community or to the environment.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. And where can everyone find you on social media and purchase your book?
Yeah, you can find me all over social media. I'm known as Garden Marcus. You can type Garden Marcus into Google and all kinds of things will come up. But if you're looking for particular platforms, on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Garden Marcus. On Instagram and Facebook, it's Garden Marcus. But on Instagram, it's Garden_Marcus.
Awesome. Marcus, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate this conversation. Definitely will be getting the journal, because this is, definitely part of my practice to sit in the morning and just be with myself, and to have a reflection book sounds like an amazing thing. So I will be getting that. And where can we purchase the book?
It's available everywhere books are sold. When HarperCollins told me that, they meant it. Literally anywhere they sell books, they can make sure it shows up. So anywhere you get your books, you can get Seasons of Growth.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. You have a great rest of your day as well.
You too. Bye-bye.